week.
Hey, I'm Randy. I'm a stuntman and I'm a certified personal trainer.
Hi, my name is Melanie and I'm a cycling instructor and a certified personal trainer.
Hi, my name is Sean. I am in finance and I am a certified personal trainer.
I'm Christina, multi-hyphenate, travel junkie, Fitz user. What do I like? Nope. Love about Fitz?
So you're constantly utilizing different trainers, different workouts, and methods.
It exposes not only the clients, but also as trainers to new people from different fields from all over the country.
It makes fitness a lot more accessible. It takes the whole excuse of not knowing how to work out or not having access to a gym out of the equation.
People are no longer tied down by that guilt that comes with buying a gym membership that they can't even use.
You travel for work, you pack clothes for the hotel gym, convince yourself you are going to use that gym. No one uses that gym. But that was before Fitz.
Travel and work and vacation are no longer the disruption that they once were.
Especially love that there's some people I get to see face to face on a regular basis.
To see their progress, to know that I can still hold them accountable, to see what other workouts they've been using.
Fitz just creates this community of fitness that spans the country coast to coast.
Change comes from the uncomfortable and the new, and that's what Fitz is. I am Melanie and I train in Los Angeles, California.
I'm Randy and I train in Atlanta, Georgia.
Sean, Houston, Texas.
And I'm Christina, now fitness documentarian, based in Denver, Colorado. I train with Fitz.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Margaux and we are Fitz. Fitz is a space utilization app that generates an ancillary revenue stream by partnering personal trainers with hotels to optimize the utilization of hotel gyms. The brain behind Fitz is our team. We have Frank, myself, Richelle, Sage, and Sammy.
Thank you, Margaux. Fitz provides hotels with an opportunity to establish a new revenue stream, have a stronger competitive advantage, and gain more market share. Brand standards require hotels to have fitness centers. Shouldn't they be profitable? Fitz offers an 8.5% commission to all hotels. Also, hotels will now offer on-demand fitness with certified trainers. And we expect that loyal customers, all the way to new customers, will actively seek out hotels that partner with Fitz. Most recently, hotel brands have realized the need for a robust fitness selection. Therefore, companies like Westin have partnered with fitness companies like Peloton. We believe that hotels from mid-scale all the way to upscale will benefit most from partnerships with Fitz. In 2015, $31 billion was spent on the fitness industry. 12.1% was from personal fitness trainers. Of the 600,000 personal trainers in the U.S., only a quarter offered in-home service. What does that mean? It means 75% had to split fees with companies like gyms. Fitz offers personal trainers an opportunity to have a more flexible schedule and receive 80% commission from their services. Frank will now provide an example.
Thank you, Sammy. Okay, so let's imagine that you travel for 4 days out of a week, and on Monday you have a conference in Atlanta. And you're currently staying at the Marriott Century Center, which is on the outskirts of the city. And if you're like me, you're probably going to want to get a workout in before that conference. For the sake of the example, we're going to say you're going to take a flywheel class. Roughly, it'll take 12 to 26 minutes by cab to and from, variably changing depending on the status of traffic in the city. So what does this mean to you? Well, in this scenario, the flywheel scenario, you have to be up at latest by 5:45 a.m., out the door by 6 a.m., in a cab at 6:10 to make your 6:30 class. You work out for about an hour, and then you have to then jump back into a cab at 7:40 to make it back to your hotel by 8:10, all of which you're stressing whether or not you're going to make it in time for your 9 o'clock conference. This roughly costs about $42 to $54 and roughly 3.5 hours of your time. On an alternative, a Fitz alternative, we let you sleep in a little later. You wake up at 7 a.m., casually walk down to the hotel gym at 7:10, have a more personalized workout, and you're guaranteed to be back at your hotel room by 8:10 and out the door by 9. This costs you about $40, which saves around $2 to $14 and an hour of your time, and a whole lot of stress. So You might be thinking, that sounds fantastic, but how are they going to implement this? And that is why I'm going to pass it to Sage, who will talk to you guys about our marketing strategy.
Hi, everyone. So we have a four-pronged approach to how we're going to be rolling out our marketing strategy. The first part is going to be public relations. We've identified 360 different journalists that we would actually like to target using keyword advertising to get into the technology space. After the first year, we want to partner with a communications group that's actually specializing with technology-oriented startups. The second strategy is standalone Instagram. The reason why is because we can get the highest amount of consumer base with the least amount of cost by having a very tangible conversion and impression rate. The third part is going to be pay-per-click advertising. So think Google AdWords, Facebook AdWords, Bing AdWords, and instead of doing it in-house, it makes sense to partner with a specialty firm like WordStream. And then, of course, the biggest component that's going to actually give us the most amount of consumers is going to be our hotel partnerships. If we plan on having at least one signed hotel group before we actually launch into the finalized product. So this is our 12-month pre-rollout strategy. It's two parts. First is obviously the development stage, and then the finalized B is our milestone, where we've reached one hotel partner and at least a legion of fitness professionals that have signed on with us. So it's broken up into four parts. The first part is our search for our CTO and the incorporation of us into a legal entity. The second part is going to be our app development, which will be done by our CTO. The third part is going to be our beta testing process with both the hotel partnership groups and the fitness organizations. The final part is obviously getting all of that incorporation into feedback, and finally, after 12 months, have a finalized launch. So how are we going to pay for all this? All of us standing here today believe we can raise about $300,000 between us, and that will go into the app development, the legal fees, the engineering cost, and the acquisition costs. So specifically with the acquisition costs is the meeting and logistics oriented for us to actually meet with the 72 certified personal training groups across the entire country, and then also with the logistics and oriented with the hotel groups that we're going to be meeting with as well. As we reach closer to milestone B, we'll be looking to raise additional equity in order to actually fund our rollout. So this financial summary is a little bit different than what you've seen in the formalized plan, and I want to draw attention to two different parts. One is the middle right, which is our revenue breakdown. 80% of our revenue is going to go to our trainers. 8.5% will be given to the hotel groups, roughly 3% for payment processing, and the residual 8.5% goes to us. Moving on to the left side is going to be the SG&A and operating expenses. And the reason I want to show you that is it's going to be increasing pretty dramatically over time. And the reason is because of the fact that we believe we're going to be incorporating additional staff, such as customer service reps, additional engineering, and then, of course, people dealing with the hotel partnerships. Operating expenses, we specifically are looking more towards the legal expenses oriented towards the rollout of the entire thing across the country. And then specifically also is the corresponding insurance costs that we think we're going to incur as a result of covering so many more consumers. And I'd actually like to now pass it on to Richelle, who's going to be talking about the top right part, which is our net operating income and our performance and drivers over time.
Thank you, Sage. So as you can see, our revenue is highly dependent on the number of users we're able to reach with our hotel partners. So we're expecting to onboard one major hotel brand per year for the first 2 years, and then continue to onboard 2 major hotel brands for the next 2 years. Our user growth is expected to be positive year on year as a result of this marketing strategy. We're also expecting a 5% churn rate per year, which is comparable with the industry average for pay-as-you-go applications such as Fitz. Now let's look into our acquisition cost per user. As you can see, for the first 3 years, we're expecting an increase in acquisition costs due to aggressive marketing efforts and software development costs. However, during years 4 and 5, we're expecting a decrease in acquisition cost per user due to the stabilization of operating expenses in relation to our user growth. Now let's go into net profit per user. So for years 2 and 3, we're seeing a decrease compared with year 1 because we're expecting to incur additional operating expenses as mentioned by Sage earlier. Basically, we're using years 2 and 3 to prepare and anticipate user and partnership growth for years 4 and 5. Now I'm going to talk to you about scale and growth opportunities. We're building Fitz as an application that is easily translatable and transferable to different related industries. So we're looking to grow and scale in 2 ways, by entering new markets and enhancing current services. We're looking at partnering with commercial and residential buildings, Fortune 500 companies, and other fitness-related companies, just to name a few activities. So I know there was a lot of information to condense in just 10 short minutes, but that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much for your time. We are Fitz, and we're now open for questions.
Hi. Oh,
Hi, I just want to say I think it's a great idea. I just had a quick question. And what happens when there's more than one guest in one hotel who wants to use the gym at the same time? Did you guys think of that one?
So we're not asking, the concept isn't to rent out the gym alone.
Right.
It's just to allow the personal trainer to come in and work with the guest that has, I guess, used the service. And I think during our onboarding process, it's something that we would discuss with our trainers and let them know that it's something to work around other guests. A lot of these training sessions don't take up a lot of space.
Sure, no, my question was more.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
More than one guest wanting to use Fitz in the same hotel gym at the same time, and obviously the gym's not that big.
Okay.
To be honest, that would actually be a pretty great situation to be in where the demand is that high, where we're actually being able to satisfy the fact that there's going to be that many people garnering that amount. But in reality, like you've mentioned, most of these gyms aren't that big.
Right.
But for the most part, depending on timing, I think that from a strategic perspective, we'll definitely be thinking about how to stagger time as a result of demand increasing. That's something that we can see on the back end. And then we'd probably say that these aren't available at this time, and we'd have to change timings accordingly.
Okay.
To work with the guests, essentially, to make sure we find the time that makes the most amount of sense from a utilization perspective and for the guest and the trainer.
Got it.
So many of us are travelers, and this is a great concept. It would definitely change my life on a weekly basis. My question for you has to do with costs surrounding your app development,
Okay.
Which I think it was $140K. Does that also include a salary for your CTO?
No, that's just for the app development itself, and the additional $25,000 on a quarterly basis is towards their salary, and then starting from the first year projections onwards, we've incorporated their actual finalized salary through each year.
Okay, and then that $140,000 for the app development, have you already vetted out how, I saw on the timeline that you thought it would be about 3 months, but have you identified how many people you need to have on the team to build the app, where you're building the app, and those details, or are you waiting for the CTO to be on board to define that?
Frankly, we've done a lot of research ourselves for it, but because none of us are actually developers ourselves, we think it makes the most amount of sense to actually, besides just us thinking about it and having this formalized process, we'd rather take someone on who actually is an expert in this.
We're having Mike Hell up. Are you guys familiar with Zeal?
Yes,
Okay. Have you talked to anybody at Zeal?
We have not, but we've used them for market research, and we know that they started in New York in several hotspot locations and are basically nationwide at this point, but we have not spoken with anyone. We've just done preliminary research.
Okay. And have you thought about any business partners on your side, like Beachbody or somebody like that?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Talked about having any partners on your side that already bring a lot of users, like Beachbody out of California, PX90, those kind of people? You might want to think about it. I know a question. In your book, you get 186 million business travelers. Is what it said.
Yeah.
So that's half the population of the United States. So there's something missing there. I mean, help me out with how many people really are the target audience here. And the second question was, you're assuming people are going to sign up for these subscription models. Okay? But my guess is you're going to be doing a lot of singles in the beginning. And that first year profitability, I would just like you to address all that. If you have more singles, no subscriptions, less people, how's that first year really look?
Sorry, what's the actual condensed part of that question?
The most condensed part is, are you really think you're going to sell subscription models out of the gate versus singles?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to hear how.
So we've actually baked into the first year specifically having a step-down period where, like you've mentioned, the initial stage is going to be single-oriented transactions, and eventually rolling into eventually reaching about 85% is going to be subscription-based. But we don't think that'll actually reach there until about the 5th year. we think exactly like you mentioned, it's going to be, vast majority is going to be in the very beginning, like, am I going to try this app? Let's see it for the first time. I don't want to pay for all this amount of, like, these training sessions if I'm not going to actually use them. So the rollout period is kind of staggered in the sense that it's going to have a specific churn rate between each of those individuals who are going to not actually stay within that first app experience. And then there's the people who are going to actually decide to be like users permanently in the sense that they know that they're going to be traveling so much. They're going to want to be opting into the subscription-based model because also the additional component with the subscription, the non-subscription, the pay-as-you-go, is that it's demand elastic. So you can actually lock in pricing before you actually go into your training sessions versus like the day before try to actually get a trainer, instead of paying $40, you pay $90. And so the point is that as consumers become more oriented and intelligent with the product, they're going to end up moving to the subscription-based service.
When you did the analysis, you used $40. Was that just arbitrary, or that was some
No.
research?
So that is based off of national average. It was in IBIS industry report that the national average charge for a personal trainer is $30 an hour. So when we built in the $40, that was with the understanding that the trainer taking 80% of that model would bring them down to that near that $30 average, national average. But it is key that it is elastic. Based on the region that the trainer would be in. But that was why we built that in as $40.
I'll just jump in here. So did you actually, I don't know if you mentioned which market you're going to start in first, because if you are looking at the $40 rate, if you're looking anywhere near New York, LA, Miami, San Francisco, right, you're all at $150. So where were you going to launch first?
The initial rollout is based off of the feedback we're going to get from the 72 certified personal training groups across the country. Whenever, based off of their feedback of where their trainers are most interested into actually launching and using the product, it makes sense for us to first target those markets. Essentially, from this standpoint, we are not able to actually determine which, we can easily say New York or LA or all these other places like you just mentioned, but it's not going to provide like a tangible amount without actually having the trainers who are actually willing to use these things. So for us to get that feedback first is where we're going to end up essentially targeting those markets accordingly. And also for the demand elastic portion, the pricing will change accordingly depending on, of course, like the demand of the trainer.
And the trainer has quite a lot of freedom by the looks of it, and they can set their own prices. Are you going to inflict any kind of parameters on this, or is it just the trainer can charge exactly what they feel like?
Essentially, if they want to charge whatever they'd like to charge, and then people want to book it, then they can. Because we won't be able to control the pricing on their end. It's all a matter of whether or not the consumer is willing to pay that price.
Got it.
So just to follow up on an earlier question, when we were talking about capacity in a small gym, so if there are other hotel guests using the gym, and it's a small gym, and there's two guests who want to use your service, and it's backed up, how does that work?
So basically, because the gym can still be used by hotel guests as well, we, as Frank said, we will only use a small amount of space, and the trainers will be certified, so they will have the knowledge to set up a perfect workout actually in the space that is provided. So they will also not interrupt any of the hotel guests with their workout session. There will also be an agreement with the hotel, so that is all taken care of. So normally there will not be any interruptions between both parties.
And then from the back end perspective, we're going to be consciously aware of like the actual space capacity of each individual gym. That's like part of like how we're going to be like handling a lot of the data on the back end. So for us to actually be able to see as they're making bookings, we'll be able to stop or like at least make an alert saying that this is not just letting you know this is going to be a very busy time during the time that you're going to this gym. Even with the personal trainer, we expect to have a lot of guests here based off of like the hotel feedback and what we're seeing on our end. So it's going to be a transparent process essentially.
One thing that was kind of missing in the plan was the expected considerations the hotels are going to have. They're going to have a lot of them, and I didn't know it was really thoroughly addressed. So why don't you just take, what are the top 3 things you think hotels are going to push back on you with?
Okay, I think number 1 would definitely be liability. I think number 2 would probably be...
Is this a service that is actually going to provide them substantial revenue over time? Like, is this going to be something that they're willing to, I think this is all kind of, I think the biggest thing is the liability. I think the other 2 parts that I would probably mention actually contribute to the liability. Ultimately, as an owner, why would you want to take on this additional risk, essentially? And so our way of addressing is the fact that we're actually going to be taking on a lot of the insurance coverage premium that goes into like a hotel guest. For example, the average hotel pays about $3,700 or so per month on involving guest coverage, and that for any incidentals that happen at the hotel. So for us, we've actually baked in about 2.5 times that amount, just to make sure that we're overstretching for our insurance coverage. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.